All right, we are joined by Chardon Hilltoppers head coach Mitch Hewitt. And, Coach, wow, what a season for you guys. I mean, we're going to get into the playoffs and what you guys have coming up, but just the year in general, how this has been and how the kids have responded and you and your coaches. Just can you talk about how different this has been? I mean, unlike anything we've ever seen, right?
Yeah, I mean, we used to say that like 2020 would be a chapter, but it's become like its own novel. The uncertainty that we've seen throughout this year, and for 16, 17-year-olds who really do better with controlled environments and things that are consistent, they've really overachieved. And we've always said from day one that the teams that win the state title will have probably needed some luck, but also a lot of perseverance from seniors and juniors, and that's what we've had so far this year.
But when you bring up the word state title, you know, some people might say, wow, but I mean, that has to be the goal for you guys. I mean, you're number one in the state. You guys are you're unbeaten. You haven't even played a close game yet. Just, I mean, how proud are you of your guys so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's we've had a great program over the last 40 years. I mean, we've had 3 head coaches. We pretty much run the same offense. Kids have known this now for 40 years. So the standard that we've created here is a state title every year. Now, some years that's more realistic. Other years it's not. But we've never lowered that standard. I played here back in the late 90s, and we're part of teams that played in the state finals and Final Four. And '94 we won one. So our kids knew going in that we had a pretty talented senior class. We'd been an Elite 8 team last year, lost to Aurora and a heartbreaker. So the expectations coming in were high. It was just the uncertainty of whether or not a season would even take place. And given that opportunity to start working with our kids in June, July, and we've made it through all that, then August uncertainty, and then you see these games getting canceled left and right. I mean, our kids have been grateful for every Friday night they've had.
I've always wondered this. Football, as you've seen it over the years, it's changed. You know, sometimes it's run heavy, it's I formation. Then now they've gone to this spread and it's throw the ball. You still go to Chardon and they're still running the same offense, the wing T. I mean, is that, Coach? How are you able to continue to still implement those philosophies while football seems to sometimes be changing?
No doubt. I mean, it's funny because when we have success now by our fans, we almost get heckled for when we actually do throw the ball. So our fans have been conditioned somewhat to expect what we do, but we've evolved it. You know, when I played it was a much less complicated system. Today, I mean, we'll probably average between 35 and 42 different formations a game. Similar concepts, but tons of formations. We got a kid this year, Drew Fetchick, who can throw the ball a little bit. He actually, in 8 games, he's got more passing yards than he does rushing. So I don't know that that's ever happened in my 10 years here. And so we're not stubborn. I mean, we're not foolish enough not to use our weapons that we have in kids' skill sets. But our system allows us to be successful when our talent may be less than what our opponents are. We're not a team that recruits. We play with kids who have grown up here for the last 10 years. We don't have kids that move in and show up. We can't go pluck from 8 to 9 different counties. So our system allows us to be competitive year in and year out.
I was going to say, I remember our camera caught a pass that Fetchick threw. Went over brush. I was like, oh, this is Chardon throwing the bomb here. You don't see that often.
No, he was 6 for 6 that game. And, you know, I mean, we're trying to be around 20% passing this season. But at the end of the day, running the football breeds toughness. I think and it's sort of what we hang our hat on. It's defensively, too. I mean, if you don't stop the run, it's hard to win football games. And that's true at any level.
You guys haven't played a close game yet. So I'm not asking you to apologize for your success. Saying that, though, now you're getting into the nitty-gritty of the playoffs. Are you interested to see how your kids respond if you do wind up in a tight game here? It's got to happen soon, I would think.
It's a concern for sure. I mean, I would say in the last 4 weeks, when we add up the amount of quarters our kids have actually played our ones, it's about a game and a half. So it's a concern of mine. But our practices in general are pretty vicious. I mean, we run them constantly. So from that standpoint, I don't worry about it. And much of this class battled last year in the playoffs, and they're aware of what's coming. I mean, they know New Philly's going to be a 4-quarter battle. It's a team that could very easily beat us if we're not careful with the football and we don't execute assignments. But, yeah, I mean, there's a general concern of not being in a 4-quarter dogfight since 5 weeks ago against Mayfield.
Can you get a good read on your team? I mean, we see it number one in the state of Ohio in Division III. Haven't played a close game. You guys are kind of flying high. Is there ever a part of you that has to say, "Hey guys, we got to kind of make sure we're not reading the press clippings or anything like that"?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that was the message. That's been the message for the last few weeks, and more so yesterday. That essentially you have to politely decline any compliment or pat on the back. I mean, parents. They want the best for their kids. We're holding their most prized possessions. They want to see a state title, but at the end of the day, I would ask any parent what they think New Philly's top 3 plays are, and they couldn't tell me. So that they've already mapped out the route to the state title, but they don't know what New Philly brings, and it's a darn good football team. So all these press clippings, pats on the backs, cut them out, save them, thank someone for the kind words, but at the end of the day, they're not completely familiar with what is looming. And as coaches and as players, I think we know.
Well, you've seen this team on film. Admittedly, I have not. What are your keys to a win Friday or on this weekend? What do you think you guys ultimately have to do?
Well, it's 29 is a great football player, and he plays both ways, barely comes off the field. He's a fast, violent, tough kid that I wish he played for the Hilltoppers. Then they got a quarterback who's equally talented. They got a great receiver in number 8. They got 4 of their starting offensive linemen are seniors, and they're big, tough kids. Now they play both ways, and we hope that's something that we can use to our advantage. But this is a team that's played in some close games, and they're battle tested. Their only loss this year is to a Canfield team that's undefeated. So they're 9th in the state. We happen to be 1 in the state. It's all arbitrary. It's a bunch of reporters who probably haven't even seen us play. So I mean, those rankings and numbers are great for parents and fans, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to who wins collisions, who takes care of the football and executes assignments.
And last thing for you, Coach, I know we can always you could probably always find something to nitpick and with your team where you could get better. But what are you really proud of with these kids?
Again, it's resiliency. I mean, it's the fact that every week is something new. Every week has been something different, and it's usually not football related. So for kids that have had to essentially play an entire season without a student section, kids that have had to play almost an entire season with limited family and friends watching them, bands not on road games, and then even on the weekends, you got to try to limit their ability to be kids. I mean, it's truly a unique class of kids who have had to do things that we've never asked another group of young people to do. And I'm grateful that in the state of Ohio they're allowed to play, because I think about some of these states where they haven't been, and you just see some of the devastation that's impacted them from a mental health standpoint. I look in our 8 weeks, the life lessons that we've been able to teach these kids, and I'm grateful that we've had that opportunity, because it's very easily to be taken away.
Coach, listen, really appreciate the time, and good luck this weekend.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for having me.